Perception is reality. So what are you doing to build a personal brand? It's never been more important than it is right now in real estate. Today I want to share with you 7 easy steps to help you build that ideal personal brand. Average agents chase business, top agents attract business, and when we're attracting business, really our personal brand is what really does that for us. So what is it that you're doing to position yourself to be the person that is top of mind and the first person they think of when they think of real estate in your local market? A lot of this comes down to that personal brand you're developing. So what I want to do is I want to walk you through the process of building this, because in my opinion, if you don't have a personal brand going into this next phase of real estate, you're really going to be left behind. I believe the people that are building their strong personal brand, that are doing the most video content right now, and that are adding the most value through entertainment and through education through video, are going to be the agents, the top agents in the next couple of years. So this all starts with your personal brand. We're going to break this down. We're going to start with number 1 is, who is your ideal client? It all starts with the client. Who is it that is the ideal person you'd love to work with and that you feel you can add the most value to? Listen, a lot of times what we do is we get into this business, or people get into this business, and they begin to focus on, well, gosh, I just want to do this. I want to go do that because it looks great, it sounds great, but it's overwhelming as far as the type of things that you're going to have to learn. The competition is super high, and it's just not who you are. So ideally, you have to understand who it is that you work best with. Who is it that you get excited to go help? Is it a first-time home buyer? Is it a family that's maybe leveling up? Is it newlyweds? Is it someone that is maybe buying investment properties? You see, when you find out who that ideal client is, now we've got the foundation of, okay, now we know who the ideal client is. Now we can take that next step to begin to position ourselves and present ourselves in a way that attracts those clients to us. So once we know who that ideal client is, the second step is to develop our unique selling proposition. What is it that we do different that helps those type of ideal clients we have to get to the place they want to go? So a lot of times what I like to do is I like to think of it this way. I help whoever it is I help do whatever it is that they're trying to do so they can whatever it is they want to do. So think of it that way. I help first-time home buyers navigate through the process and purchase their first home so that they can build a foundation financially that will change generations in their family. Whatever it is for you, I help investors locate ideal investment properties that will help them build a portfolio that gives them the opportunity to retire in comfort. Whatever it is for you, think of it that way. Who is your ideal client? What is it that they do? And now that we know what it is you can do to help them, how do we do it differently than anyone else? What is it that you do different? Do you provide more information? Are you someone that does what you're saying? So if you're looking to work with investors and you've never bought an investment property, then it's going to be a little more difficult. If you're someone who wants to help first-time home buyers and you just recently bought your first house, it's a great opportunity for you. If you're someone that is looking to buy into a 55 and older community, do you live in a 55 and older community? You see, we find that person, and a lot of times the person that we can help the most is the person who's just behind what we've just done in our life. I've watched this over time in my business, now being almost 30 years in this business, where when I first started and I was buying my first home, I mostly sold to first-time home buyers. Then after I got married, I mostly sold to young families that were buying their first house or that were upgrading after they had children. Again, it was a lot of what was going on in my life were the people that I was helping. Now, there were certain areas where I began to branch out. I began to, because I'd grown up in this area, I began to be able to sell beach properties to people that maybe I wasn't at a place at the beginning to be able to buy some of those properties, but I knew that market better than anybody else. I knew the properties, I knew the history, I knew the finances, I understood what was going on, I understood where we were heading as a community, and I was able to build a brand story around being that person who knew more information than anybody else about my area. You see, when you find your unique selling proposition, whatever it is that you do differently, now we've got our brand, we know who we're working with, now we know what we can do, now we can start positioning those things in a way that attracts those customers. Number 3 is crafting your brand story. Now, people ultimately do business with people, so the branding ultimately, unless you're building a team, needs to be you. So when we're starting out, what is it that you do and the story that you have that you can tell? So for instance, I'll use this as an example. If you're someone that's helping people buy investment properties or buying a second home, for instance, Tell the story of you doing those things and how it's benefited you. It gives you the ability really to get at, and really literally through video, it gives you the ability to be able to share your story in a way that will attract your ideal clients, and it will repel those folks that you should be working with anyway. So, what is it that you can do? I always love to do this with agents. We like to give a story of who they are, what's important to them. People ultimately, as I said earlier, do business with people. So when you share that you are someone that has a family, that you're someone that has investment properties, you're someone that is involved with a certain charity, whatever it is, your brand story really needs to have a little bit of a personal emphasis really to get you to that next level. You know, I've got a daughter that went to college and she loved the social entrepreneurship program, and what we're seeing is that we're seeing a shift where people want to be a part of something where people are doing something bigger than just selling houses. So what is it you do in your community to assist others that you can highlight? What charity are you involved with? What organization are you involved with? Do you coach a little league team? What is it that you do in the community that adds value? What is it that you've got a passion for? By sharing those details, you're crafting a brand story where you're now beginning to act as a natural filter and find that ideal client where they're like, you know what? That's somebody I could work with. That's what we're looking to do. The fourth step is to identify where your ideal client is spending their time. Listen, it just depends on who the person is. Different types of people are on different social media platforms. Different types of people are involved in different types of organizations. You know, if you're working with young families and you've got a young family, you're going to meet a lot of people if you're involved with sports for your kids. You're going to meet a lot of people if you're involved in your school system where your kids are. If you're someone that is looking to buy, that works with investors, or like in our coastal market, if you're someone that is absolutely working with that, where do the people spend time? They're looking for videos on different types of lifestyle at the beach. They're looking for social media that has high aesthetics so that when they're back at work and wherever they're from, they're thinking about the beach and they're scrolling through and they're seeing your content and you're staying top of mind. Who is it and what is that ideal client? Listen, an older client's probably going to be a little more on Facebook. A younger client might be on Instagram, might be on TikTok, might be on different places. Video content is where it is ultimately going. Who is it and what are they searching for if they're on YouTube, searching for that area? What is it they're doing? So, best 5 neighborhoods in your city. What are they searching for on YouTube? They're searching for the outline of the elementary schools in whatever your city is. Giving them the information, positioning ourselves where your ideal client is spending time is the way that we can actually get in. The way we see it down here at the beach is you got to be in the water to catch the wave. Where is the water for your ideal client? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? Are they on TikTok? Are they on YouTube? Are they spending time in your local community? At the schools? Where is it that they are? Position yourself to where you're where they are is ideally the situation we are looking for, because ultimately that's going to give us those opportunities to build those relationships. The fifth step is to build a consistent visual identity. What is it that where when people are scrolling through, if they see a thumbnail on Instagram or they see a video type of thing, what is it that they see that they're like, oh, that's them, where everything begins to tie together? Something that we can have consistently on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, on mailers, on everything that we do, so that that consistency builds that trust. What is it that you should do? This could be where you're getting a generalized logo for yourself. This could be where you're having a certain color palette that you're utilizing. This could be where you're doing this. You know, you'll notice majority of the videos that I shoot, we shoot right here in our conference room in our place. So maybe if you see that, you're going to notice that and you're going to say, oh, well, that's Jimmy shooting a video talking about adding value to real estate agents. It's the same way for you. What is it that you can do visually so that when people see it, immediately they know that's your stuff? What is it you can do color-wise that immediately that generates them, oh, that's the stuff that Jimmy's putting out, or whoever it is? That's what you need to do is to find that consistency, because that consistency, as I mentioned earlier, builds the trust. And ultimately, the trust is where we're going to get the business from. The next step is to create valuable, consistent content for that ideal client. This is how we're going to build that brand that we're talking about for you, is that we're going to identify what are the questions that your ideal client has. What are the things that they're interested in? What would they find valuable? And how can you do this in an entertaining and an educational way that keeps their attention? It doesn't have to all be business, but what it does need to do is there need to be some consistency of adding value to these folks. Video content does this for you. It again acts as that filter, but what it does really is think about what are those questions. We've even been utilizing ChatGPT to go in and say, what are 20 questions that a first-time home buyer would have questions about? What are 20 questions that someone looking to buy a second home at in a beach community would have. It lists those out. We then think about those things. Then we do a Google search, and we go into Google and we start those searches to see what are the search terms. Because what's great about it is two things you can notice with Google. You can go in and start typing in, whatever those prompts you have or the questions you have of how to buy a home at the beach. And then what it will do is it will give you a list of all the other terms that are being searched. Also, if you scroll down past the ads, you'll see an area where it says people also search for, and it will give you titles there as well. Finding those ideal pieces of content, creating that content consistently, and getting that out in a way that is adding value to these folks is absolutely the recipe for success. The seventh step in building your personal brand is to grow, engage, and nurture everyone that you gather into your social media and on your databases. So how do we do this? We talked about the consistency on the content. One of the things is that we always need to have new people coming in. So what can you do to be attracting people to follow you on Instagram? What can you be doing to add subscribers on YouTube? What can you be doing to add people into your database that are potential buyers and sellers? Whatever that is for you, that's the first step. We need to consistently have growth. I always like to say, if you're not growing, you're dying. So what are you doing to grow the opportunities you have to build that personal brand on a wider scale to more people where you can present the value? The second thing is to engage. Get involved on their social media. If you have people that you're ideally targeting, get involved. The people that are commenting on your stuff, comment back to them. Make sure that you're not just leaving that out there. Think of that. We're out there trying to get people to engage with us. If they make a comment, comment back. Reach out and direct message them with a question or asking them how they're doing. Just checking in on these folks. Also, create that engagement in a way where you're doing some of your type of posts that are asking for engagement. Maybe it's one of these posts where you're doing like, which house would you prefer? Which pool would you prefer? Which neighborhood would you prefer? Which school system is best for an elementary student? You see, you're doing these things where you're creating these polls that create engagement. Now you have opportunities to follow up with these folks, thank them for being engaged, and build relationships at a deeper level. And then ultimately nurturing. Nurturing is understanding that, in a market where the average person in the United States doesn't move but once every 10 years, what are we doing to build those long-term, nurturing those relationships so that we're the agent of choice, not if, but when they decide to move? Again, we're seeing some of those trends where it's moving a little faster leading into the pandemic, and it's going to be interesting over the next couple of years to see what that looks like as well. But ultimately, growing your database, engaging with the people that you have in your database, and then continuing to nurture all of those folks over time is the way that you build a personal brand that feeds your business forever. I hope this has been helpful, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. I specifically chose the video below for you because it builds on the one you just watched. I hope it's helpful, and I'll talk to you soon.